Suicide today is one of the leading causes of death, and not only in the United States, but in the world today. Suicide, it needs to be talked about more because it's really only talked about until the tragedy has occurred. Why not try to help prevent the tragedy? Suicide is a serious problem that needs to be talked about more and brought to more people's attention. Suicide, according to the CDC, has grown over the years, going from 10.5 suicides per 100,000 people in 1999 to 14.2 suicides per 100,000 people in 2019. Suicide was the second leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 10 and 34. There's suicides amounting to over 14,000 suicides in 2018. The main method for suicide for being a firearm or suffocation. Firearm alone accounted for more than 50% of the total suicides. Also, data from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services, by them doing a survey, show that the suicidal thoughts went up by 4.8% of adults aged 18 and older in the United States in 2019. Among adults across all age groups, the prevalence of suicidal thoughts going up was highest among young adults in the age group of 18 to 25 and 11.8%. As well as for the same data, 12 million people had serious thoughts of committing suicide, and over 1.4 million of them went through with it. Here in Washington State, in 2018, according to the CDC, the suicide rate for us was 60 suicides per 100,000 people. This problem just goes beyond our border. In an academic journal by the Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine, quote, India and China contributed to 40% of the 800,000 deaths due to suicide across the world every year. And as well as the Global Burden of Disease survey indicated that the suicide was the leading cause of death in India in 2016 among those aged 15 to 39 years in that same academic journal. Now, what causes suicide? Suicide is caused by a variety of factors, unfortunately. That varies from person to person. But according to Mayo Clinic, some of the highest danger one that causes the most danger are if you've attempted suicide before, feel hopeless, worthless, agitated, or socially isolated or lonely, experience a stressful life such as a legal or financial state, having to messy breakup with you or your significant other, or having the loss of a loved one. Having substance abuse problem, alcohol and drugs, for example, and having an underlying psychiatric disorder such as suicide, bipolar disorder, or PTSD. It is a very hard world out there. We can all agree that from time to time we can become overwhelmed with stress and from our problems in our day-to-day lives. I too had friends that without my intervention in their problems would have considered suicide because of the dark place they were in. We all have family and friends that are like that. We all have people that we hold close and dearly to our heart, that we only wish the best for them. I can say with confidence that everyone watching this video, that if we had someone we had a family or friend who said that they have considered or attempted suicide, we would do everything in our power to stop that tragedy from happening, because we don't want that. We only want the best for them. Now, many of us also have children. Children and teenagers are just as susceptible to suicide as the rest of us. According to Stands for Children's Health, things that may seem normal to you, such as a divorce, siblings moving out, or moving to a new town, may be an unnerving and unsettling time for them that stresses them out beyond belief. Other problems, such as changes in friendships, as friends moving away, or them abandoning them, or other problems in school, such as bullying and having lower grades, can also affect their mental health, and any of the causes that were mentioned before. Now, after hearing the horrifying statistics and the causes that can lead to suicide, how do we help prevent it? The thing that helped motivate me to help make this speech was to bring more people aware of it, to help teach them the warning signs and causes before the tragedy happens. Because according to Mayo Clinic, quote, suicide is the result of feeling like you can't cope with what you face. It seems to be an overwhelming life situation. If you don't have hope for the future, you may mistakenly think suicide is a solution. You may experience a sort of tunnel vision where you believe that in the middle of a crisis, suicide is the only way out. If we help people become more informed, we can help prevent that. We can help more people become aware that there is help, that there is more than just to life and what that current situation involves. This is evident in my interviewee, Mr. Don Mason, a counselor from Davis High School, where in his response to one of my questions on how to help prevent suicide and suicidal thoughts, he responded with, quote, again, education. The more people know about the subject, including suicide, the more people will be able to make good informed decisions about themselves and the people around them. He also says, quote, prevention education. Some of this is taught in ninth grade health class, but he thinks that they need to expand it to all grades. Other ways to help prevent suicide is establishing support networks. Mr. Mason also states that surrounding yourself with a support system, you can look at that like a target, with the center being your closest family and friends, and the second circle being people you know more distantly, and the third circle even a little less, and so on and so forth. Even if you don't want to, telling someone as close as your family or friends is probably the healthy alternative than keeping it bottled up, because it allows them to help you and consider that even if right now things may seem horrible, even if you feel overwhelmed, things will get better. That it's not going to stay like that forever. And for parents, this is even more serious, because you shouldn't assume that everything with your kid is fine and dandy. It doesn't hurt to check up on them and to ask them if they're feeling alright mentally and physically. Support your teen. Listen and try to let them offer you criticism. Let them vent your problems. It is a much healthier alternative than to just ignore them and letting them keep it bottled up. The last way to help prevent suicide goes beyond just the victims. Family physicians and doctors should also be informed. In another academic journal by the Journal of Neurosciences and Real Practice, they did an exam where 234 medical students in India were to be informed and to try to have a more positive attitude towards suicide prevention. And at the end of the exam, half significantly improved their attitudes towards suicide prevention. If we train the next generation of medical students and nurses to have become more involved with the parents and patients, and it could be a key and crucial factor on the many suicidal cases to help prevent them. Suicide is a very scary reality that still exists in our world today. It's a very scary problem that affects so many people. It is something that needs to be talked about more, and even more so on how to help prevent it. Suicide as a whole will probably never truly go away, but me being naive, I'm going to assume and hope for the best, and in the future, it truly does go away. We need to stop and think for a minute. We are all humans. We all experience stress. We all feel overwhelmed from time to time. We all feel like crying, punching something. How about instead of ignoring those who need our help, how about instead of just leaving them to the curbside, you go to them and try to assist them in any way possible that you can. Because suicide is never truly an option. It should never truly be an option for people. Yes, you may feel overwhelmed, but you need to know that there are other people who care for you in this world. Finally, if you really need to talk to someone, or you need to vent some stuff, please call the number at 1-800-273-TALK. There's still so much more to life than you know. Thank you for your time, and have a great day, everyone.